And I guess leave your email address if you want the recording sent to you, right? Is this how we're collecting them?
Well, the easiest way for me to get your email is for you to fill out this raffle form. I'm going to ask your email on there. So even if you're like, I don't want a free coaching session with Amanda and Jules, I can't imagine why no one would want that. But even if you don't want that, go ahead and use this little link I'm going to give you. And then I'll have your email and I'll know to email you the replay. So
perfect. Please follow the instructions to make Amanda's job easy.
Thank you.
Don't leave your emails in the comments, please.
Well, you just get lost. If you guys, I don't know if anyone else has a Facebook group or does this kind of stuff, but it's like amazing how easy it is to get lost in the comments. Okay, here's.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's why I wanted to make sure to not do what I said before. Because we might be lost. All right, so shall we start?
Let's get going.
Okay. So ladies, if you are here joining us live, welcome. I'm Coach Jules, and of course, Coach Amanda. Hello. So reverse diet. Go ahead and in the comments, put number 1 if you've heard of the reverse diet before. Maybe like not sure what it is, but at least you've heard the name. So put number 1 in the comments in the Facebook or here in Zoom. And put number 2 if you have never heard of the reverse diet, like it's a foreign concept to you. It's now be number 2. So that we know who is here and if you have some information about this stage in your macro tracking journey. All right, and then I also ask you to get that pen and paper. And I always love when people come with an intention for learning something, maybe something that you've been puzzled about. So I'm going to give you just a few moments. Get your pen and paper, take a few breaths, and just kind of look at that blank sheet of paper and ask yourself, what questions do I want answered throughout this presentation? This way that you're going to have your intention set and your brain is going to be very busy looking for those answers throughout the presentation. So you'll stay better on track and you'll stay more focused. And if you are reviewing this presentation later, see if you can do the same thing. See if you can be surprised. That's my question and I actually got an answer. Okay, I see that Amanda is writing. Excellent. She's an excellent student. And of course, yes, there is no way for me to check if you are doing that, but it's going to be highly advisable. And of course, it's your choice. It's all about choices, but it will be interesting to know. All right, so reverse diet, or how low can you go? This is something that I am very passionate about because I also had lots of points on my journey. And this beautiful, magical phase has created a lot of breakthroughs for me. And I will be talking about some of them later towards the end of this presentation. So if you've never heard of the reverse diet, welcome. So I'm glad that you're curious and want to know more. And if you have heard of the reverse diet and maybe somewhat confused, hopefully in this presentation, I will help you get some clarity. And of course, we'll have some time left in the end of our presentation to see if some of your questions have not been answered. So just to kind of start here, we have a journey. A lot of times when I know Coach Amanda and I work with women, most women kind of stuck in that cut phase, which is that calorie deficit. And I know Amanda and we highly advise our clients to have a deadline for this phase. And I'll tell you why as we go through this presentation, because technically this is the phase that should be a temporary phase just to kind of attain the goal and then get out, even if it's not attained. And yes, it might be like mindset blowing, but that's what we are good at. And right now we're currently in the coaching academy to learn how to shift that mindset. So if you look here, we have the cut, which is the calorie deficit. And of course, we have reverse to maintenance. That's what we're here for today, which is really just enjoying the lifestyle. And that's what we miss. And of course, there is a stage for surplus, which is really also another crazy stage. And this is where you want to potentially optimize building muscles. And actually, I'm going to have a special guest on Wednesday. We're doing a live with this lady who is in her 50s, and now she's in the surplus stage to build muscles, which is bulking up. So it'll be an interesting interview, and I will probably share the recording here. So she's kind of a nice, neat lady of our age, and she's doing great. Anyway, so when I look at the stages, I look at it from the perspective, wow, I have so many choices. So remember, if you're like stuck in that, okay, calorie deficit is the only way, and hopefully if you've been following Amanda's presentations, she's given you so much more and so much data to explore, just to know that there are always choices and there is always the next step. However, for some of you, you might not be considering that the next step can be reverse to maintenance. And that's, hopefully, I will make my case today. All right. So how all the stages can look in this chart, right? So nice and neat chart. And again, if you look at it, what does this remind you of? This is basically how our life operates. If you go to do EKG, guess how it looks? Up and down, thank God, right? Or you're at the gym doing your squat. You have to go down in order to come up, right? We have daylight, we have nightlight, we have sunrise, we have sunset. And why in the diet industry we get stuck? Only going down. And as you can see in this chart and in our life, like when we get down, there is only way to get out of it, and that's to go up, right? So, and hopefully when you squat down, you also want to squat up. And this is how you build the strength, especially in the strength training world. And I know a lot of you do some workouts with weights. This is how we build strength. We don't just build strength, only practicing down phase. The muscles get stronger only from both phases. So that's going to be my case today for you to see if you're ready to go up, especially if you've been going down for too long. And again, as you can see, it's a cycle, and that can be your continuous cycle throughout the year. And the beautiful part of it, now you know there are cycles. Guess what? You also have cycles in life. Like your kids are off school. Okay, that's probably not my best phase to go into deficit. Or, you know, the kids are at the grandma for a summer. Okay, that's my best way to go into deficit. I'm just going to plan for it, right? But while I'm planning, I have options. I can practice my maintenance. I can practice, you know, living life. So choices. I think having choices is a beautiful thing. And I know Coach Amanda and I, we're very, very, very passionate about empowering our clients with choices. As soon as they get stuck, we're like, okay, well, look here. Let's get out. Don't you want to have choices? Just go ahead and put in the comments. Yes, 2 choices. All right, so the objectives for this presentation, what I would love for you to answer today, I guess. So diet versus lifestyle. Again, lifestyle is forever, right? And diet should be that temporary phase. That's why it's not really a part of the lifestyle. But reverse and maintenance are, or the maintenance phase, and can they coexist? And hopefully we can answer that question now, just from those charts that you saw before. Couldn't they coexist? Couldn't you plan your cycles? I think you could. And then how low should you go to see results? And that's the thing, if you've been already at your lowest for a long time, Ask yourself that question. How can you lower from something that it's already at the lowest? Like if I'm squatting down to the floor, there's no more way I can squat down, right? Something needs to give, okay? And then is lowering more and more calories the only way? And yes and no. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And this is my favorite question that I was curious about months ago. Can eating more food help you lose weight? And yes, that might sound completely counterintuitive, and you might have not even expected this question before, and I was there, but this is where I got stuck. Like, really? Let me test it out. And I will talk about my testing towards the end and a little bit at the next slide. So, well, yeah, at the next slide. Okay, let's imagine that this is your case scenario. Your calories and macros was set for weight loss, and perhaps they were set months ago or even years ago. And you decided, okay, that worked. I attained that weight. And then you're staying at that calorie and macros point for some time. And now you get into that dip, remember that chart, where you are stuck. And going lower feels terrifying. And I totally could relate. Like months ago, I mean, last year, if somebody told me that I have to go lower and I was already hungry, I'm like, no, I don't need any diets. Thank you. I'll just keep my weight, because a feeling of being more hungry was more terrifying to me than my extra 10 pounds that I did not like. So look for options. So the question to ask, how low can you go? Or really, how low would you prefer if you had a choice to go? Put it in the comments, your options. So we have option 1, 1,000 calories. Option 2, 1,200 calories. Option 3, can you imagine yourself going into your calorie deficit stage at 2,000 calories? Please put your options there. And I hope you would all choose the higher option. Because if you had a choice and knew the way, would you take that choice? Well, if you ask me that question, I said yes. And yes, Amanda and I actually are planning our calorie deficit stage. It'll probably start next Monday. We're still, working through it. And I will be going at 2,000 calorie, and that's going to be my deficit. And why? Because of reverse to maintenance. So stay tuned. I'll tell you more about that. Okay, Amanda, do we have option 3 for most people? Okay, so here's
sorry, Jules, give me a second to unmute. We do, and we have some advanced students. Coach Jules would be very proud that Melody, who has had a macro confidence coaching session with us, she also noted she'd really be between a 2 and a 3 because of like her body stature. She's only 5'1", she's petite. So, but yes. We're all, and Joanne said, I cannot imagine 2,000, but I'd take it. I like it, Joanne. That is my spirit.
Awesome. And yes, imagining is where it starts, right? Because our mindset has to follow, and that imagination has to come from that mindset. If we're just allowed to imagine, can we even do that? That's the first step. So I think you're on the right track. And yes, for some people, like, between 12 and 2,000, it's going to be still there higher. Because if you remember, Amanda did a great job with formulas and numbers. Like all of that is going to play a role, because we're all about customization, and that depends on your height and activity level and age and all that other stuff. But like, how high can you go so that your high is going to be at the calorie deficit too? And this is where you have to know a lot how to collect data and adjust data. And Amanda did that presentation last Monday. So if you did not get the recording, make sure to submit that form. But I already showed you my slide, the next one, but basically, if you never Googled how many calories does a 3-year-old need, the first one is gonna come up between 1,000 and 1,400 calories. And
But they're growing.
What is it? Yes, they are growing. That's it. Perfect. Exactly.
I'm sorry, I
Yes.
didn't know you could hear me.
Yeah, I could. So if you can make it mute, but feel free to write in the comments. Yes, this is a very good point. They are growing. Their brain is growing, their muscles are growing, their bones are growing, everything is growing, and they're 3 years old. Well, guess what? You're an adult, you're actually taller, you weigh more, you also have hormonal stuff going on, you're hopefully active. Like I know Coach Amanda, we work with women who love to exercise more and not eat enough. So like we are active. So yes, we are at different stages in life, but as you can see, everything I just named goes into that formula to determine energy expenditure. And that's what Amanda talked about last Monday, and I will touch on it today. This is just a perspective, and to give you just an idea, the 3-year-old who is smaller, tinier, but growing, still has that calories. And we as grown and mature women think that we also need to maintain, and by the way, this is not calorie deficit, maintain ourselves at this level. All right. So one of the main reasons why our diets fail is because our diet calories become our maintenance calories. And basically, we are not allowing our body to know the difference. So we need to train our body to eat at maintenance so that it can recognize what it feels like to eat at deficit. So that's why when our diet calories become maintenance calories, and maintenance means for a long time, for a lifestyle, our body adapts. And this is what happens when we are stuck in that low calorie. So what happens is what's called metabolic adaptation. And hopefully some of you are already familiar with this term, either by following Amber and listening to her podcast, she's our coach, or just following Coach Amanda and I, so we talk about that as well. So metabolic adaptation is absolutely normal and human phenomena, and thank God we have it. So it does not mean you're broken, does not mean we need to fix you, it does not mean that you're damaged. It's just that your body works perfectly well. What you give to the body, it adapts to it. So that's why it can go down regulate because you eat less, because you have lower energy, so you probably move less, so you're more tired, you're more irritable. So, and also at this moment, the body, the only thing it thinks about is just to help you function. So there is like least priority for the weight loss. So that's why the body starts, due to the metabolic adaptation, start depositing the energy. And a lot of times it takes the energy out of the muscles, out of some fat. So our metabolic rate decreases, our thyroid hormone decreases, our hormones decrease, sex drive hormones decrease, but the cortisol level increases because lower calories for a long time, even for a short time, but also for a longer time, it's a stress on the body. So that's why we know cortisol stores fat, and fat is energy. So in a lot of times we see that fat accumulation around our belly, and we ask ourselves, okay, what's going on? Well, there might be many different factors, but we're here just addressing, okay, well, how low are your calories and are they supporting your energy expenditure? Not like a 3-year-old, but like a grown, mature woman who is active and likes to do things and feel good. So metabolic adaptation, if I give you just another example that may be a little bit more relatable, is I know most of you go to the gym and work with weights. So it's the same principle. It's basically the principle of adaptability. And this is one of the beautiful phenomena that a body has. And it works. So, and this is how we grow muscles. So we go to the gym, right? We put the stress on the muscles, and that's why the stress is very important. That's why progressive overload that we promote here is very important, because in order for the body to adapt, we have to place the right stress on the muscles so they adapt to that stress by getting stronger and building muscles. So that's why we either progressively increase weight or sets or reps or tempo or other things to continue putting the stress to get to the goal that we want in terms of body composition. Okay, so that's why adaptation is good, it's normal, and we can take advantage of it. So it can downregulate, it can upregulate. Also, as you know, if you sit at home and don't do much, like if you work with office workers, like their energy is low, their potential for movement is not there because they've been adapted to the chair. So, and like I sometimes, I do posture evaluation with people and I can like predict, okay, you're the office worker because you basically took your chair and now you stand, but your body cannot quite like open up because the body adapted, right? Especially if they're not active. So yeah, so the bottom line is that the mind and body does not thrive on low calories forever. Again, we want the body to recognize what it feels like to be in maintenance and what it feels like to go in calorie deficit. So it can put the right triggers and help us, take advantage of the period of time that we want to set to achieve a goal. There's nothing wrong with achieving goal. But it's always a good idea to know what the exit plan is, because usually what we see happen with our clients, so their calorie cut day, hopefully they had a deadline ended, and they're like, okay, I have my perfect weight, and now I'll just go and eat everything. All right. That's why it's good to have the exit plan. And that's where that reverse to maintenance is our exit plan. It allows us to train our body to start waking up all those down regulating points that I just mentioned and bring them up to the up regulating. And it takes time. Just like it took time for the calorie deficit to work to get to that weight loss, it's going to take time for metabolic adaptation to work to bring us to maintenance while maintaining the weight we attained. And that is what we are all about, because losing weight is not that difficult, right? We've done it. It's maintaining it. It's sustaining it. That's why it's really never, just like Amanda talked about it last time, macros is not your magic, calories is not your magic. You are the magic. And also another magic of this whole thing is your habits. Because it's you being consistent, because it's you being informed, because it's you being empowered, because it's you knowing your choices and creating the system, creating those habits around it. That's what's gonna help you be fit and well, no matter what age you are. It's the habits. And this is just the tools. And we're just giving you all this information to use the tools to your best potential. Hopefully it makes sense. So let me know if I need to stop. If there are some questions, we can address them now, or we can keep going. So yeah.
That's a great question. Why don't you, if you guys have questions on Zoom, type them in the chat, or feel free to raise your hand if you know how to do that in the chat. And on our Facebook page, just type your questions in the comments. And if I see them coming up, Jules, want me to give you this, I'll give you the sign to pause and maybe do some of those. Okay. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's fine. And hopefully I can answer some.
I know
Um,
a
yep.
few people did say when you were asking those questions that would be addressed in the presentation, those were on a lot of people's minds. So you really, like, I feel like we're all on the same page here when you're asking, like, how low can I go? How low do I need to cut? Can I actually lose weight by eating more? Those were
Oh, yeah, cool.
a lot of people saying, yeah, those were their questions.
Yes, and let me just give you this visual that if you are stuck in that diet calorie for a long time, look at it like this overstretched band, elastic band, right? So you can only keep stretching it, stretching and stretching to a certain degree. So at a certain point, it's going to give out, right? It's going to lose its elasticity. And this is basically kind of like that metabolic adaptation, and us, we're like, okay, I'm gonna just white knuckle it, or I'm gonna do this, so I'm gonna start this Monday, and you like try to keep, doing it and doing it. At a certain point, you're either gonna give up or just get tired or say like, whatever. And again, you're gonna feel like stuck. But remember, there is always the next step. And now, as you start feeling it or reevaluating your journey, start thinking the next step could be for me is that reverse to maintenance. And I'll talk about more in a moment. But think about that overstretched Band-Aid. Like, where are you in that overstretched Band-Aid situation? So are you like at this end or at this end? That means like, okay, I'm glad you're here. There are choices. All right. Before we go into a little bit of the review from Amanda's presentation, I just want to bring this mindset in the word calories, because this is the word that I think sometimes bring us like fear and cringing moments. And it's like always, oh, how many calories, or how much calories, or calories are going to kill me, calories going to increase weight, calories bad, calories that. So that's why sometimes I go to some events that are full catered to women, and there is food around it. Like the word calories comes up like, I don't know, a lot. Because there is food and it's all food. Oh, no, I'm on a diet. No, this is too many calories. And there's like this whole calorie talk that we cannot even like relax and just enjoy the meal, right? But really, what is calorie? Just not to go into the chemical or definition, science definition, it's simply energy that we get from food. That is it. And we need that energy so that we can sustain our functions as a human functions, but also going beyond into the thriving zone of doing whatever we want to do while feeling good. We need those calories. And that's why, like, Amanda did a presentation last Monday about how to adjust it. This is one of the most important phases, because that's the phase that's going to help you understand what is your happy calorie minimum, what is your happy calorie sweet spot. Like, I know when Amanda and I talk, we become like so sensitive. We can notice like, okay, I think it's time to increase by 100 calories. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Yeah, we do it. And it's like, oh my God, why did I not do it earlier? It's like when you really start getting those cues from the body, and instead of going into that mindset, oh, it's going to be weight and whatever gain, you just test it out. Like, hey, it worked. I sleep better. My performance at the gym is way better. 100 calories. Who would have thought? It makes a difference, but it does, at least from my experience. Right, Amanda? Give me a high five. Okay. So yeah, calories. It's your energy. So I thought it's going to be funny that I can share this. So when I was in Italy last year, and I was eating yogurt, and then I looked at their nutrition fact label. So, and from their language, Italian, energia, that means calories. That's kind of nice. Energia. So remember, it's energy. So when you look at that nutrition fact, yes, know your calories, but also understand, thank you, This is my energy. This is my fuel. So yeah, that is just an interesting fact here. So, and this is what brings us to our, I don't know if you can see my black thing here, but I don't know how to move it. I'm not going to move it. Don't do make some changes here. Anyway, so something that Amanda talked about last presentation, I just wanted to touch a little bit to kind of bring you to this whole, since we're talking about energy and energy expenditure and why it's important. So one of the numbers that hopefully you calculated, followed Amanda's presentation, is your TDEE. Okay, and this is basically your maintenance calories. And maintenance calories is exactly that, just like your money in the bank. You know, how many calories or money goes in, that's how much goes out. You're at this nice level maintenance. This is a TDEE. That's why it's important to know that number. And from those formulas that Amanda provided, it's your estimate. So, but as you collect the data, you will understand what your actual maintenance might be. So it might be slightly higher or lower than provided by the formula. So that's why it's very important to be customized to your body and to your energy expenditure. So our TDE, the true TDE, not your calorie deficit one, true TDE that has this maintenance component, right? It's your baseline for your potential calorie deficit phase. That's why I remember how I was saying, okay, how low can I go? Well, you cannot really go lower from what's already at its lowest, right? So that's why when we start using reverse to maintenance and bringing our calories to TDEE at the maintenance level, which is level, right? Just like with our money in the bank. So if it's level, how much we put in, that's how much we get out. Well, how can we play with that? Well, we're gonna decrease how much we are gonna take out, or we're gonna increase how much we can put in, right? So now with TDE, we can play, and it might not feel so terrifying, right? Because you're not at your lowest and you've collected enough data so you know where you actually are. And it's a process. So here I just wanted to kind of refresh the simple principles of the law of energy balance. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that, because in a nutshell, it's pretty simple. In order to lose weight, we want to burn more calories than we consume. Okay, so in order to maintain, we consume as many calories as we burn. So it's a very simple energy balance law. That is it. However, TDEE, again, Amanda talked about it more in her presentation last Monday, actually before Monday, maybe. So what does TDEE include? So this is a points of energy or points of like levers that we pull from to create either calorie deficit or calorie maintenance or calorie surplus. So I'm going to start with exercise activities, which is E. So which means just like money in the bank, right? We can increase our exercise activities and maintain or be at calorie deficit. So that's why, let's say that if my TDE 2000 and I'm in calorie deficit at 1700, right? 300 calories less. I'm going for 2 weeks and I'm like, I hate it, but I don't want to go any lower, right? I might just increase it to 1800 and decide, okay, I'm just going to add a little bit of cardio throughout the week and see how I do with that for another 2 weeks, right? Or you say, okay, so I'm at 1700, don't like it. What else is going into my energy expenditure? Well, it's the NEAT, non-exercise activities. How can I make myself more active throughout the day? So like how many more steps can I add? Well, I'm just going to add a 15-minute walk during the lunchtime. That's going to give me about 2,500 steps for 1 mile. And instead of going lower from 1700 to 1600, I'm just going to increase to 1800 and I'm going to maybe play with this or 1750 or whatever, right? So then again, you're going to test it out for 2 weeks and see, well, other points here is going to be our basal metabolic rate. So this is basically our rate at rest. Amanda talked about that, and I'll mention a little bit. And here's the thing. So muscles, or the percentage of lean mass, is going to be giving you an advantage because your basal metabolic rate is going to be higher, because muscles keep burning energy at rest. That's why leaner you are, higher metabolic rate you might have in general. So, and of course, like what we eat, because our food also has a thermic effect, or also like higher and lower thermic effect, which will also help us burn more energy. And this is what we'll do on the next slide here. So a protein here has 25 to 30% TEF, which is going to be requiring more energy for the body to burn. And then we also have the vegetables. So how to put it in the example? So if I add 100 grams of protein extra, let's say, to my breakfast, so 30% of that is going to be 30 calories, which I now just increased my burning potential by 30 calories. What if I add 100 grams more of protein to lunch? Maybe like change my carbs to protein, right? And then I add 100 grams of protein to dinner. So I just increase my burning potential by 90 calories just by adding more protein. So if you add 100 grams of vegetables to, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? You just doubled your potential. And basically, if I give you an example, it's kind of like fire. And remember, it's that metabolic adaptation. So we are training our body to start cranking the heat, so to speak. And basically, it's like your fire. And if you put more wood into it, it keeps burning. And also the quality of the wood, as you know, is going to make a difference. Like a good quality wood, it burns well. So, and this is a good quality food, protein and vegetables, they're going to burn well. They're going to increase our heat. And that's what I didn't mention before. A lot of times, like I know for me, so when I was on my lower calorie, unintentional low calorie, I always had like cold hands and feet. And this is also like another kind of sign for the body that, it's not producing the heat. Now I get hot. I do eat a lot of protein for sure, way more than before. So again, so it's important to know that total energy expenditure and what it consists of, because again, it becomes your levers. And this is the data collection that we encourage our clients to collect so that we know, okay, which lever to pull without even going to how low can you go. And remember, we're not even at the lowest. We went from TDEE, important, that's a baseline. Then we decided, okay, we might just do 15% cut. Now we're playing with those levers because it's all about energy expenditure. How can I get out? And how much I put in and where I am in that cycle, in that stage. So let me know if anything come up. But interestingly enough, so I thought this is a good chart. So this is a copy from the book that I have. So it's not like the best copy. This is just a chart that basically gives you this nice, neat picture of what TDE consists of. And if you look at this blue zone, this is your basal metabolic rate. And this is 70% of our TDEE, of our total daily energy expenditure. That's why it's important, at least Coach Amanda and I, we strongly agree and don't feel comfortable to advise our clients to go into a calorie deficit phase below the basal metabolic rate. Could there be cases and could they be done? Sure, possibly maybe for a short period of time. But basal metabolic rate is important because our functions, our bodily functions, they need to keep running, and preferably at their optimal and not below optimal. And again, it depends also on how long you've been feeding the body at about that basal metabolic rate. So, and Amanda talked about that. And again, she gave you the formula. So like basal metabolic rate is where you start. It is part of your total daily energy expenditure. However, another interesting point here that you probably noticed, we always prioritize our exercises, which is that eat, but it is really 5% of our total daily energy expenditure. And it also has something to do due to body's ability to adapt to this high intensity workouts. So however, like again, your muscle building activity is going to be still good because again, muscle burns calorie at rest. So we talked about that, but really where you want to start maybe figuring things out and see how you can increase your energy expenditure is this part. It's that non-exercise related activities, because that will give you that 15% more and you're staying active throughout the day. And then we talked about the thermic effect of food. So, but again, this basal metabolic rate, it's kind of like what I call it a safe zone that I don't want to go below. I don't want my clients to go below. Could it be done? Yeah, there are cases. We're not covering them here. So, reverse dieting. It is really not about weight loss. Hopefully you're getting this by now. It is really just to help us to get out of that low calorie deficit with the plan while maintaining that attained weight, because attainable does not mean maintainable, right? And that's why what really separates a successful woman with that attained weight with not successful is that a plan. Okay. So, and yes, you might hear the stories that people have had some cases when they went into reverse and maintenance, they kept losing weight. And yeah, there are possibilities, but you don't know until until you try. However, this phase, remember that phase is in cycles and we want to have goals for each phase. That's why we are applying the goal and the phase and meeting them together, right? This is not the goal for weight loss. If that happens, fine. While you're reversing, it might happen because technically you might still be in that calorie deficit. But again, test it out. See how your body responds. That's the beautiful opportunity to test out your body. So what reverse diet is all about, it is about restoring your metabolic and hormonal adaptations that occur through dieting and chronic undereating. So we talked about that previously. Again, metabolic adaptation downregulates, we are now upregulating it. So cranking up that fire, burning and increasing calorie potential to burn. So it is the bridge between you to get to healthy maintenance calories and set up and possibly even increase your baseline for the potential cut whenever you're ready for that stage. Okay, so we're almost done. Any questions there? So far?
Coach Jules, this might be a good time to address Joanne's question, which I think is this is the biggest question about the reversing out there from a lot of people. Like she said, I'm afraid of gaining in a reverse. If I could, and then she added on, and we'll get to this, if I could reverse without gaining, when could I cut again to keep losing weight?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Right. So I just love that she addressed that big fear that you may gain in a reverse, though it has been my here's my observation on that. You won't gain in the reverse, because when you begin to gain, Joanne, is your body telling you stop? The reverse. So that kind of answers your second question. When you notice a gain, and we'll get into, well, what data do you look at to see that? But when you notice gaining, that's your body saying, okay, time to stop. You have found your maintenance. And we can teach you, if you did gain a little before you realized, oh, that's the stop sign, I'm at maintenance, you can then gently back off 50 or 100 calories, just to throw some numbers out there. And you will have done a fantastic reverse, because you have gotten to the goal that Jules just taught us of a reverse diet, which is to get your metabolism back up to its maintenance. So you can hang out there long enough to then have another successful cut to lose weight. So Jules will keep going on with the details, but I thought that's the perfect place for Joanne's question. Such a good
Oh,
question.
no, yes, it is. Yes. And I will be addressing that. We can address it. So here's, yes, what you said is absolutely correct. And again, Coach Amanda did the whole presentation last Monday about collecting data, because you collect data in the cut, you collect data in reverse maintenance, just for different goals. And it's, again, beautiful opportunity because you're collecting data from you. This is not some kind of like a, keto diet that is designed for everyone. And now you're trying to fit yourself to that. You're trying to create processes and systems that fit to you and your body. So, however, what I'm hearing here is definitely fear. And this is a very, very valid fear. There are, of course, a lot of coaching opportunities around the mindset, because this is a huge one for many women when they do hear the word reverse and maintenance. And even though they're logically understanding everything and the potential of it, there is still fear. So I think it's beautiful to recognize your fear. It's there. Your question is completely valid. And then you just kind of have to ask yourself, well, what if it happens? Well, remember, Amanda just said, you give yourself 2 weeks and you know about your potential to adapt. Guess what? You collected data, the 2 weeks was there. You stop adding calories, just like Amanda said. Your body responds, you're at maintenance. And your 1 pound that you gained, it's not there anymore. But let me also give you a perspective. Let's say that you are increasing your calorie when you're in reverse to maintenance by 100 each day. Let's say you're at 1500, now you're doing 1600 each day for a week. That is 700 calories. May sound like a huge number, especially for a person who's been that yo-yo dieting and knows only one way to go lower. That's why there is that mind shift that needs to happen. However, there is math, there is science, there is fact. And the fact is, in order to gain 1 pound, you really need to increase by 3,500 calories in 1 week. That is your actual 1 pound of fat, right? And usually, depends also like on your macronutrients and whatever. So if you were reducing carbs and then you start increasing your calories and your carbs got higher, you might potentially have a little bit of water retention, because again, your body is in that process of adapting and figuring things out. So that's why it needs time. That's why when you understand and see more of those choices, hopefully you can kind of weigh it. Okay, what's the fact? Well, okay, it's been 2 weeks. I got 1 pound extra, but is it really fat? That's why Amanda gave you lots of data to collect from. So one of the data to collect from is your belly. So we do the measurements around the belly. And if the measurements are still the same, that 1 pound you see on the scale is not fat. Might be just water. You might just, wait another 2 weeks and see what happens. Because it's like we are so patient with our calorie deficit. It's like, okay, 1 more week, I can do it. But when the reverse to maintenance happen, 1 pound up in 1 week, we go, wow! Well, why couldn't you be patient, right? But again, this is just where we've been, where we are, and where we want to go. And hopefully with more choices and more understanding of it, hopefully that will give you, that will kind of like start opening up your mindset. And that takes time because our mind is, pretty slow sometimes. Like if I'm resisting something, I'm resisting something until I start again, maybe imagining like, is that really possible that if I do this reverse to maintenance and I get myself up to this, my next cut can be at 2000. Well, let's stay curious in the process and see what happens. Hopefully that makes sense there. So let us know, Joanne. And yeah, and that was planned in my plan here. Okay, but anyway, who needs reverse? Like I already talked about all of that. This is just more of a summary. So you need to get into reverse to maintenance if you've been dieting longer than 3 months. If you've never intentionally eaten to maintain. Remember we talked about that, like your body needs to recognize which phase are you in. Otherwise it just adapts to what you give, right? If you're getting to that stuck point, okay, the only way to go is either going crazy with cardio and I don't like it, or decrease my calories and I don't like it either. Another one, which probably you don't have that, but like I mentioned, Coach Amanda and I were pretty passionate to set the deadline. And if you did have a deadline and you hit the deadline, it's time to reverse. Because we still want to have some energy and fire in you left to get into that reverse to maintenance, because it requires still effort. That's why we set the deadline, and that's why we check in with our clients to see if they're still in that mental capacity and energy before even deadline is over. Because some of them like, no, I can't. Okay, well, then we need to stop the deadline because we want you to still go reverse to maintenance, and we need you, to still have that power. So that's why it's always very important to like monitor and stay true to your body. Because it's not like you're not going to have another year. I mean, you can set it up again. That's why doing it in cycles and slowly, while you're creating habits and lifestyle around it, that's what's going to last. Okay, and then we have that chronic dieting, which we talked about, of that metabolic adaptation. Okay, so just like we already talked, some data to collect. Again, watch Amanda's presentation from last week. Let us know if you need that presentation. But basically we kind of already discussed that, so I'm not gonna talk about it. So you can also monitor your progress at maintenance, because one of the things that people get kind of like, okay, I don't have a goal here. Well, your goal is to live life, really. And we just want to, cut the throat and resist and subtract and all of that. But here is some beautiful things that could happen, and you notice, and I know our ladies who won the coaching sessions, they actually experienced some of it just within a few days of increasing calories. So ladies, Melody Increase, if you're there, if you're listening, put it in the comments and see if you can inspire other people. But both of them they were kind of like mentally ready, and we just, coached them through a little bit, and they just, boom. It's like, thank you. I slept so good. But this is what may happen. The life is happening. You may start experiencing more energy and better sleep. And I know, I noticed that my clients, when they increase the calories, they like become more active, and they don't even notice that. They don't see the shift until I bring it up to them. And it's like, okay. Did you notice this is happening? Like, no, you're right. So yes, you get that energy. Remember, calories, energy, more active. You also have better sleep. So watch for that. Improve digestion, reduce overall stress. You feel calmer, because remember that cortisol high, we just help that cortisol go down. Everything else went up. And yes, you kind of like feel not so reactive to stressors. You're not so irritable. This is a beautiful opportunity. If you are into building muscles and increasing your lean mass, this is a beautiful opportunity to do. That's what Amanda and I doing right now in our maintenance phases. So your hormones are balancing, you have better sex drive, feel more full and satisfied, have more flexibility and freedom with food, gain strength and athletic performance. So this is huge. And this is exactly like your lifestyle is different and your body knows it. Oh, this is what it feels like at maintenance. I'm more active, I sleep better, I have more energy, da, da, da. And this is what it feels like when I'm in calorie deficit. Okay, let me go into a little bit of that, sleep state, right? So this is what you want to monitor. And yes, they are non-scale victories, but isn't what we really want behind that number? We want to feel good, we want to look good, and hopefully we want to be empowered with choices and create habits for life. Okay, so give us a hand or something. I want this. I want this live. I want to feel like that. I know I do. Okay. Yes, how long does it take? So kind of touched on that, but yeah, it's a huge question. So how long does it take in terms of you reversing yourself from that cut to maintenance? Remember that chart that I have? Here's maintenance, then there is this calorie deficit, and then you're going up into reverse and maintenance again. How that up motion, how long is gonna take? I know you're gonna, hate me, but this is what we're all about. It really depends. It depends on your mental state the most. If you've never done reverse to maintenance, this mindset is going to be your most blocking point. And more you allow yourself to see the other side, to see the other possibilities. That's why most of the time what we see with our clients, this is when they need the coach the most, not in the cut phase, because it's like, I know what to do. But that reverse to maintenance. And I know Coach Amanda, that's what we do. It's not so much about collecting data. It's about working with the mindset and allowing our clients to see the opportunity, to see a possibility on the other side. It's really just shifting perspective and really allowing them to adjust their mindset to the goal of where they're going. Especially if they've never been there, it's a scary place. So that's where we are. We're in between, trying to take them by the hand and as a team, plan some solutions to meet their new mindset with their new goal while they're traveling through this reverse to maintenance. So it really depends. Also, like how long you've been in a calorie deficit. Do you have any energy left, right? So for some clients, we might even suggest increasing 150 to 200 calories to start with, just to give that fuel, right? And let them be. So there are strategies, there are levers to pull, there are data to collect. So it may take you a month, it may take you a month to 2 months. But again, you were so patient in the calorie deficit. What's the big deal? Why couldn't you be patient in this one? It might take 2 months, maybe more. It all depends. But the main thing, it's going to happen. And as long as you believe it's going to happen and how it's going to make you feel, would you be motivated by this? I want to feel like this every day. And if the increasing calories help me, why not? Why not try it? You can always go back. Remember, you can always go back. Okay, hopefully I answered that question. Okay, so another question, which very same question you can ask, how long does it take for me to be in maintenance before I do my next cut? First of all, maintenance is lifestyle. So we want to live at maintenance. However, we're all about setting goals. We appreciate goals. We recognize goals. We never shame the goals. If you want to still lose weight or perhaps work on your fat loss potential or whatever, it's fine. So we usually recommend that you want to be at the maintenance, not at reverse. You want to be at the maintenance after you reversed it to maintenance, at least for the same period of time as your last cut, if you had the deadline. If you didn't have a deadline and you're in the cut forever, well, it really depends. Like I can say like, yeah, maybe 3 months, maybe more, but it really depends like what's going with you, your mental state, your stress level, your hormonal level, like how much your body had to adapt so that those bodily functions started to kind of like change. So that's why, you know, you might be a little longer because it's a healing stage. And longer you stay in the healing stage, depending on what your body wants, better rewards you're going to get. So again, if you're in the cycles and you know, you can kind of plan it, but if you've been stuck, so it's just a little different, again, mindset more or less. Oh, here we go. So here's my journey. So can you, yeah, let me see if I move this. Okay, so I'm already here. Okay, so basically, yeah, like I have some pictures. Hopefully you can see them well. This is basically before I started my macro tracking journey, thanks to Amanda. So when I started counting my calories on my FitnessPal, so I had 1,500 calories. I exercised a lot. I was pretty active. I am 48 and like my scale number basically maintained for years, but I felt bigger and I looked bigger and my clothes started to get tighter. And I'm like, what's the big deal? I'm like working out, I'm doing my walks and whatever. I'm constantly thinking about what else to do. And I'm also hungry. Like the fact of going on a diet, which I knew would come with like cutting the calories, plus I was scared of the diets. So it was not like very good idea for me. So anyway, I love the macro approach because it was balanced. I'm never about eliminating one food group over the other. So I love that. And I was like, well, let me try it. So through this experience and mostly from Amber, our coach, Biceps After Babies, I learned about reverse to maintenance. And I jumped on it before Macros 101 was open because I had to wait for so many months. I also had a trip planned to Italy and it was a cuisine trip. So I just did my own reverse to maintenance just by following Amber through the podcast. And I did my TDE calculation using the formula that Amanda shared with you. And my formula was 1950. So, and again, I started 1,500. So I increased to 1950 by what, 450 calories, right? So I did that for, I think, 3 months. I went to my trip to Italy and that was the best trip ever. I ate all the forbidden foods there because I was a healthy eater. But in Italy, that was white pasta, white bread, you know, tiramisu. We had to cook stuff, lots of wine drinking. And guess what? I probably was beyond my maintenance, but who cares? I had a good time. I felt so good. I never thought about calories because I already trained my body to eat at a pretty high level. And I had my journey with it and my mindset, you know, going crazy. But when I got to Italy, I just enjoyed my whole cuisine experience. And when I came back, I was only 1 pound more and I was gone without the week. That's it. I was like, wow, that was so cool. So anyway, and then when I came back, Macros 101 was open and I basically did my first cut. And my cut was set at 1650 and I did that for 8 weeks. So, and again, see, if I went to the cut from 1,500 calories, that would be miserable. I would not survive for 8 weeks. But because it did take time and diligence and also establishing my habits in maintenance, when I went into my 1650, by that time, I already had some solutions, some habits, some thinking, some planning, and also going from 1950 when my body was fully in abundance and nourished, it gave me a good green light. And really my 8-week experience was like pretty good. I rarely was hungry. My body was working like a clock, like 1 pound a week, a little bit more here and there. So basically in 8 weeks, I got down to 10 pounds, which is 140 pounds. I was 150 here. And then I took my second reverse to maintenance, right? My second cycle of reverse to maintenance. And all this time, starting from here to here, I've been building muscles. So I've been in the progressive overload phase, building muscles, building muscles, building muscles, building muscles. So this is my stage where I am right now. And yes, I also trained my body to increase my TDEE to 2,300. So remember, the formula said one thing, and this is where I started. That's why it's an estimate. So your maintenance calories are never the same calories. And as you go through cycles, just like again, our life, we're never the same. We never, poop the same. We never eat the same. We're never the same. We don't feel the same. We don't sleep the same. Like things change, right? So that's why everything, your maintenance calories can be different. And that's most likely attributed to my muscles. Well, that building phase. And this is the beautiful phase to build muscles because you need energy. So that's why now Amanda and I, we are planning our next cut, and I am excited to try it out to see how it goes at 2,000 calories. We will be posting our progress and talking about it in the community. So I'm excited to go with my best friend and coach. That'll be fun to go with the body and yeah, test it out. So, and of course, like you can see, what the fat looks like, right? And I'm sure you feel it, that's why we're all on the journey. So in the muscle. So here I weigh the same after my cut, which is 140 pounds. I eat more. Basically my activity level, like I do average 10,000 steps. So remember those non-exercise activities. This is my non-negotiable. So I try to do 10,000 steps every day. So on weekends, we sometimes do long hikes. This is just my bonus steps. And I work out. I do progressive overload strength training. So I started with 4 days. Now I'm down to 3 days, just kind of listening to my body. Meanwhile, I'm collecting data. And more data you collect, more empowered you are, I think, and more you can get those levers in place. But basically, just to give you another idea, yeah, we're almost done. This is this is just another, I don't know what I did, but okay, let me come back to it. Okay. So this is just, I think, a good visual picture. So there's 5 pounds here, and this is 5 pounds of fat, and this is 5 pounds here, 5 pounds of muscles. So that's why if you are in reverse to maintenance and also do progressive overload, and you do see that your weight stays the same, that's why we have a next data point, which is your belly. And that's what's going to give you a good idea that, oh, wait, you're building muscles. Hopefully this is your muscles. So that's why they're dense and look different in the body. But I thought that's a good, representation of it. So, and this is kind of my favorite saying here: results from lowering your calories are not proof that lower calories works. It's proof of why raising them works. Hopefully it makes sense, right? So that's why I am training my body to go higher at my calories. As I go lower, remember that energy balance, right? So I'm gonna just prove it. That's why it worked. So that's why we always think about down, down, down. I want you to start thinking up, 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 and up. Okay. And I think I'm pretty much done. So yes, and the main mental blocks that I know we hear from our clients, and we also been through our own. So yeah, we can tell you stories. We're not perfect. some questions you might just ask yourself, what are my mental blocks? Like back to Joanne's question, she already expressed it, that sense of fear, but then just kind of start digging. Well, why am I fearful? What happens if I go that route? And so on, just kind of keep digging. What is my deep why? So if your deeper why is to get to a certain number, but it's not the number that really you're after, it's what that number gives you. Remember how I give you a list of how you're going to feel when you're at maintenance? I'm pretty sure that's what you're really after. But the number is just that thing that is kind of sort of, I don't know, on the way, or maybe stimulates you more. And do I place my worth and confidence on how small or lean I look? Because that's probably like one of the biggest challenges that we hear from our clients is you're worth it. You're worth it without that number. So perhaps when you let yourself go that route, you might be a little bit more at ease going through that reverse to maintenance. Anyway, mental stuff is important in this stage for sure. Yeah, nothing will change unless your mindset follows. That's it. That's why we've been empowered with Amber's coaching, and that's what we do there for all 3 months. That's what we've been doing, shifting our own mindset and learning the tools to help our clients to shift their mindset so they get to the goals they want. And yes, if you've never done reverse to maintenance, being a beginner is not easy, but it is necessary. Just like I always tell my clients, start with a beginner's mindset. Be open, learn, explore, just like you are in a foreign country. You kind of like it and you're excited about it, but at the same time, you have no idea what to expect. But take this time, to be a beginner. All right, I think I'm done. Oh, shoot, I went more than we planned, but okay. Any questions, or do we have time? Because we do have, another meeting.
Well, you know what? Let's just, because Lisa asked specifically, so let's address this really quick. And if people have to hop off, this is recorded, so you can be sure to fill out that little raffle form to make sure I have the right address to email you the replay. And Coach Jules and I also kind of left it up in the air if we would create a guide about reverse dieting. Based on your questions, I can put together a very short reverse dieting guide too that would come to you. So if you need to leave us, that tool is there for you. But stay for this if you're interested. Lisa asked, what about being over 60? Was reverse dieting still a choice for me? And what about like any best tips about reverse dieting, getting started with it if you've dieted forever? So if there's one of you, if you want to take either one of those, Jules, or I could talk about one, like, let me know what you want.
Well, I'm not sure, again, like that will be more questions to ask for Lisa about the age and reverse to maintenance. What reverse to maintenance is, it's a lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle that adapts to whatever age you're in. Because again, I think where you may be coming from that constant restriction and diet mentality, and perhaps like missing, even imagining like, is it possible for me to be at the higher calorie and actually live my life? So there is no restriction between the age and maintenance. We actually want and should and benefit way more just to live in maintenance. And perhaps another question might be, you might want to ask, like, how many times is recommended to be in the cut in 1 year? If you know all the cycles and go through the cycles, it really, again, depends on you, where you are, how much you need to lose. But I would say I would not recommend more than 1 to 2 cycles a year to be in the cut, and also depends on how quick or long your cut is. Like I would rather, for me, do like 2 8-week cuts in a year than go into this long 12, 16-week cut. Again, preferences. also from personal experience, and I guess you can take the second question. My mom, who is 80 years old, she lives with me, and it's 80, not 60, 80. And she was also kind of had that mentality due to other reasons, not necessarily losing weight, but because she's had like digestive issues all her life. And then recently she's been having this low energy, lower activity, blood pressure spikes like constant. So because she lives with me, and I started to change our food portions and macro balancing stuff and things like that. So she started to, saying, oh, okay. And that was her whole thing, like in the beginning, wow, that's a big portion. It's too much for me. I'm like, Mom, whatever you don't eat, leave it. And then she eats. Okay, wow, isn't that big for me? Because this is what she did before. Smaller portion, eat like a bird, still having all the digestion issues and things like that. She was not going for any data collection, nothing, because the whole thing was like too much for her. I'm just like, okay, I'm cooking this, we're gonna eat this, here's your portion. And then, part by part, I see that she started to have more energy. I see that she started to have more activities. Her blood pressure, she's not like every day, 5 times a day, checking her blood pressure because she feels off. She's fine. She like does it once a day now just to monitor. And then her digestion improved, and she's had digestion issues for years. And I'm like, whoa. And what I just did for her, without going into any data collection or muscle building activity, it's just increasing her, not even scientifically, food portions and balance the fat and protein and carbs. That's it. And at 80 years old, like I'm telling you, this is like a huge bonus. I had no idea. I did not sign up for it. I did not have any expectations, but this is how she reacted. And yeah, here we go. Living proof. It is possible. There is no age requirement or minimum. I am 48. I benefited from that as well. Did I answer your question, Lisa?
I think Lisa's still on Facebook.
Okay.
So I think, but I think you wonderfully, beautifully answered it. I just met with a client today who is 70 plus and using a reverse and loving it. So no age restrictions. I love, Melody said in our Zoom comments too, I'm just trying to take age out of the equation, and you feel free that there is no age restriction on reverse dieting and living in maintenance to make you feel wonderful and help you get more results if you do choose to have a cut again. And one to Lisa's question, I have seen women who have, just as Jules said, it is your mindset that you may need to tend to first. Yes, because Lisa just said, yes, I just need to believe it. So if you are worried, because you're a lifelong dieter and your mindset's really worried, you can work on those kind of questions Jules posted, and feel free to try to tell yourself, okay, I'm going to add 50 to 100 calories. Maybe I'll even just say 75 calories a week and let myself take 2 weeks. You can shrink the change is what Jules and I call it. So instead of you hearing us say, okay, we recommend adding 100 calories a week during a reverse, if that's too intimidating, you can just shrink how much you're going to add on and keep collecting your data. And you'll be in a really gentle reverse. And maybe the next week you'll feel so good from it, you'll be willing to add on even more calories. And like Jules said, the reverse time is the perfect time to work with a coach for just these reasons, so that you're not alone out there fighting against the fear, because it's real. We've had it all of our lives. We've been inundated with it in the American culture that we should definitely do whatever it takes to not gain weight. And eating more has been equated with gaining weight. So maybe before too many people hop off too, Jules, are you okay if I insert here about working with us in Macros 101?
Yeah. Yes, I was just gonna add real quick, but I did forget what I was.
I totally
While
Jules catches her mind, because I interrupted her. Let me, in case you are leaving us, I always like to say in the Well Women's community, we don't love to come to you with information if we don't have something set up to support you. And Jules and I are doing our best to have that happen. So the next chance to get support from us to work on exactly what we have been teaching you is coming. We have been enabled by Macros 101 to actually work with you as coaches in Macros 101, which is a really great educational program. It starts the first week of April. It lasts for 8 weeks. And not only would you get all the education that you get there, you will also get us as your coaches. We're going to have a small group for you. And if you have already done Macros 101, you are going to be invited to participate as well by Coach Jules and I. And so that you would be able to have our support to work through that programming again, if you didn't get to work through it in the past, or you just, this time you want to try a reverse, this time you want to have maintenance. So we will be posting all the links to sign up for that, all the dates, the times, the details in the Well Women's community first. If we have your email, you will be more likely to get reached out to by us with all of that support as well. So all the more reason to use the link I'm sharing in the comments to get that raffle ticket filled out. So I make sure I have your best email right now, so you don't miss out on this, because it's your ticket literally to getting that slide Jules posted of all those really good ways you feel in maintenance, sex drive, energy, all the things that we are really here for. So thank you for letting me get that in there real quick, Coach Jules, before we wrap up.
Yes, no, that's excellent. Yeah, and if you're still here, and yes, mindset. So I would love for you to maybe like ask these questions, and you might have to write them down, like Felisa and maybe other ones as well. So what is it about your restrictive mindset, because restriction comes with a diet, that prevents you to open up and see a potential for abundance? That makes sense, right? So how can you open up to see more potential? Like imagine that you've been, saving money, and then tomorrow you just won a lottery. So you don't know what to do with that much money because you haven't trained yourself to spend and live and think and feel at that much money. It's the same here. We've been so much here at that lower calorie deficit. We know how to cut. No problem. And if it doesn't work, it's my fault. Well, if it's not your fault, you're just not taking the next step. And it's not your fault because you've been trained here and you don't know how to spend the millions. So in between, this is that journey. In between, it's that, like it says here, that beginner mindset. And in between, this is where that coaching will be helpful. But when you arrive at this destination, you can spend all your money with pleasure. You can eat all your food with pleasure. And then another question just to ask you to ponder, because I know when we work with women like that, who've been in a calorie deficit for a long time, they have constant binging cycles. And that all comes with shame and guilt and all of that. It's like, no, I can do it. I can go lower. And then they binge. Well, if you start reversing to maintenance, guess what? You can openly eat, however, with a plan. It does not mean you're just going to go and like, blah. No binging. You're just planning, eat more, enjoy more. And again, a little bit more and enjoy a little bit more. So then what would you rather do? Would you rather stay low and just binge secretively, and then feeling bad about yourself? Or would you be open? It's like, oh, there is another stage and I can actually eat and don't have to hide. And I can progressively, and that's called training, training my body. Yeah, training your body and mind to spend the millions. Okay, so I'm done.
All right. Coach Jules and I get to go to another training at 2:00 today to be the best prepared coaches for you for that next Macros 101 opportunity. So we will wrap up. As always, the Well Women's community has this training feeding into it right now. So you can always go there, even before I send you the replay, and make more comments and questions in our Well Women's community Facebook group. Okay. What else? I think that's everything. And you, Yeah, I'll be able to get all of those of you who filled out the raffle ticket, I'll be emailing you the replay and a little quick guide for reversing. So you have all of our support. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
In Zoom and in Facebook. And we will let you all go. Have a fantastic day. This is our last live big training for March. So just keep staying tuned over in the Web Women's community. If you want this kind of ongoing support, like I said, the best way to do that is next steps with us in Macros 101.
Thank you so much.